I'm Herm Gailey here on a very strange day. If you look out across, and maybe you can pan out across a little bit, that is wildfire smoke from Canada, from about 400 or 500 miles away. It's much better than it was yesterday. Yesterday I didn't ride anything because our air quality index was so high. I don't even know if today would be a sunny day or not because we have such a heavy smoke cover. So it's overcast, but it's not overcast in the normal way. So that's my weather explanation for the day, because when you live like we live, weather's a big part of what we do. I had a couple of real good questions on the one segment we did on natural horsemanship using the spin as an example. And people were curious about the spin component of this, and they asked a couple of very interesting questions. One was, a lady wrote and said, how does somebody who hasn't done this a lot avoid getting dizzy? And you know, you can get dizzy turning your horse around. Let me give you a couple of ways that can happen. If your horse is erratic in his turnaround, if he's just sort of flailing around, you'll never get into a real motion, and you're constantly adjusting your equilibrium, and that will make you dizzier. The other thing is, if you are looking down, you are much more likely to get dizzy than if you're looking out, straight ahead. So those two things will happen. The other thing that can make you dizzy is if for whatever reason you close your eyes. Believe it or not, people do that. And if you close your eyes when you're turning around, if you blink and hold it just because you're sort of like, woo, like maybe you do on an amusement park ride, it will make you damn dizzy. But if you keep your eyes forward, if you have your horse moving smoothly, and if you keep your eyes open, you got a fighting chance. Plus, the more experience you get with turning a horse around, the more your sort of internal gyroscope resets itself. So that's that question, which was interesting to me. And another gentleman who's written in a lot of times with good questions many times in comments, goes by the handle of Race Nail, said, well, what about those of us who also need to know how to shut it off? How do you bring a spin to an accurate stop? So that's a very legitimate question, because just as you can lose points and detract from your performance in the start of your spin, you can every bit as much ruin your spin if you're inaccurate or choppy in your shut off. So what I would suggest is, and the commenter had a couple of thoughts. He said, do you just sort of quit asking, quit riding? Well, here's the thing. When I'm turning one around, I'm not riding that much. If they're good, you should put them in the spin, and they sort of have their own little motor there, and you shouldn't have to be helping them that much. So just quitting riding isn't the best thing. Plus, if you've got that cue on, you want them to keep turning. You don't want them to just run out of steam. So you actually want to ask them to stop. So to do that, I will often say, whoa, I'll pick my hand up and center it and lay a little bit, if I'm turning to the right, a little bit of right rein on her to cancel out that cue to keep coming around. And I'll also take this leg that I've had engaged just a little to remind her to turn around, take it off, and put this leg on. So let's start our turnaround here, and we'll stop it. And I've got those cones there just to sort of show where you want to shut off. So I'll start her, and I'm not going to ask her to turn around real fast, but we'll go around. And I just sort of relaxed my seat, put this leg against her, centered this rein, and took this leg off. So you're going around. Oh, we got a little stuck here, girlie. And there. A little inaccurate, but not bad. She stopped when I asked her to. My timing was just a little off. But a little of this leg, a little of this rein, this leg off, this rein off, and you got your shut off. Now, another question that I found intriguing, and it was kind of question or comment that could have been negative, but it was a genuine question with a little bit of perplexity behind it, and that is, what's this spinning around stuff about anyway? Well, that's a very fair question. What's the purpose of it? And truth be told, there is no practical purpose to a spin once you get beyond 360 degrees. Most of the true value in your spin, if you're working cattle, which is the origination of a reining horse. A reining horse that uses a spin is supposed to demonstrate its maneuverability as if you were working cattle. I don't know how often you're going to be spinning around and around with a cow. Now, there are times when you might need to go around, say you're dallying your rope and you need to keep up with things. That might be a time when you would go the whole way around, but you're not really going to need that full spin very often in real life. But if you want to have that control, then let's make sure that you can get your horse to here, and 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 have that level of control. The other thing it does is, if you then would want to do a lesser turn, you've got it. In the original days of the reining discipline, there were a lot of patterns that did not have spins. They had what they called quarter turns. And they were not just a quarter of a turn, and maybe I'm misnaming that. A quarter turn was one form of a pivot, because they would call for pivots, and the pivots might be quarter turn left, half turn right, quarter turn left, which would bring you back to center. So quarter turn left, half turn right, quarter turn left. And that is way more like what you do with a cow. You will not find a reining pattern that has pivots in it anymore. They've been replaced by spins. But that is a maneuver that really more closely replicates what you'd be doing with a cow. So that's the answer to what the purpose is. It is completely driven by the discipline that calls for, in the National Reining Horse Association, either 4 or in some instances 4 1/4 spins each direction in every pattern. Practical application is just to make your horse handier. It is demanding if you're doing it at a high level, because that was the other question that this commenter had, is it seems, her words were sort of neutral and questioning, it seems a bit unkind. Well, it can be, but it depends on the horse. This horse is bred to do this. She's good at it. She's not particularly stressed by doing it at all. Physically, it's not hard for her. So it's not unkind for her. Now, if you take a horse that has no talent and you torture them into spinning, it's more than a little bit unkind, it's really unkind. But if it fits the horse, it's okay. Every horse is different. What would be unkind with this little horse would be to take her out for a 4-hour trail ride over demanding countryside with lots of distractions and traffic and a construction site here and a tarp blowing over there. She is so reactive, that would drive her a little bit crazy. I take her out trail riding because I want to expose her to those things, but she has all sorts of aptitude for the show ring stuff, very little aptitude for the kind of mental equanimity that you need to be a good trail horse. So to her, that's a little bit unkind. That's the best way I can answer that. If you do it wrong, no matter what it is, it's going to be unkind. If the horse is willing and you're not overdoing it and you're not drilling and drilling and drilling, no harm to it. It just makes you a better horse, and it instills a little bit of maneuverability and discipline. So those were 3 really good questions that I wanted to respond to. Hope this answered your questions. If it didn't, let me know and I'll try to do better. Thanks.